They did the thing.
They did it. They did it. They did it. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to Shop Talk with Mel. I appreciate you lovely people visiting with me today. We got the crew back on the scene. We had guests for dealing with the topics that we were dealing with. So Rugo, what's up?
Man, let me put it on this camera because I'm up here multitasking and everything. I'm reading stuff, looking like hey, that's the downfall of a Zoom meeting, man. You be up there like doing like extra things and things like that. I'm like, oh, this is great. Let me read this.
Listen, that is what happens with the Zoom. And Nick, you already know.
Yes.
You be doing other stuff like, okay, wait, what should I be doing? What is this going on? You know what I mean?
All right.
Like our guest last week, she was doing her nails. So you're right, Rugo.
Yeah.
I was sitting there like, no, you're doing your nails and the whole world can see you doing your nails as if you're not. She was interested and she was talking, but she was doing something at the same time. So you're right about the Zoom meetings. You mean to be like, oh, wait.
And when you in those meetings, you got to learn to cut off your camera if you're going to be getting up and going down. You know what I mean? Like I'm on a little break, you know what I mean, right now. And not like you ain't interested, but you be like, oh, there's something I need to do. You be like making toast and having a meeting and all that stuff that you would never do. You know, that work-life balance, right?
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
It is the truth. It's actually the truth because there's sometimes I'll get up and I forget to turn the camera off. You don't see me. Be like, oh, where she? Then I come back with some little Cheez-Its or something. So you're absolutely right. You are absolutely right.
No.
But that was cool. Mo D that was playing. Oh, Rugo must have dipped out and went and got something off the stove. You see, he done went, where you go, Rugo? But the song was Rare Essence, but it was originally made from Cool Mo D. Do you know what time it is? That is the topic of today's show. You back?
I'm back. I had to go get a drink. I couldn't get apple juice because last time I was accused of brown liquor.
Yeah, you had a glass.
I had to go get me something. I think this got aspartame in it or something. I don't know what's in this thing.
What?
I don't know. I think it's cool.
It's cool. Right. Yeah, you had your roll ball. You had your little crystal glass. That was like a 4 ounce with a little bit, like about that much apple juice.
I mean, hey, it started off with more apple juice. You know what I mean? Apple juice does evaporate and is delicious. Come on now. It's apple juice.
All right.
That's his story and he's sticking to it.
I heard that. Well, welcome back, Rugo. I'm glad to see that you're back. Let's get with these hot topics and jump this show right on off. Let's go with, I'll let you start, Nick. Anything going on? What's happening in the streets?
Ooh, child, listen. I don't know. They were supposed to have a protest at the Taco Bell down the street.
I rolled by. Listen, I rolled by and I was going to Arby's to get me a milkshake. You know, they got the good milkshakes there. So as I'm going, the police had it like barricaded.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up sharing it with my mom, and I thought it was really odd because I went the way that I normally go, cut through, and I ain't gonna say the name of the store, but the main stores was like shut down. And the one police officer said to me, he was like, there's no protest going on. I said, huh? Right. See, so you're feeling the way that I'm feeling. And I was like, And the other officer said to me, he was like, where are you trying to go? I said, to Arby's. The other officer did look at the officer that just told me off top, there's no protest going on. And so the one officer that said, he was like, where are you trying to go, ma'am? I said, to Arby's. And he looked at the other officer, was like, why no? Why are you telling me there's no protest going on? I'm like,
wow.
Right there, he identified himself as part of the problem.
Right.
You know what
exactly.
I mean? Like you can't even go. You got racially profiled, and all you wanted was some delicious Arby's.
That's it.
Right.
All I want was another milkshake. Right. And that's the point that I was trying to make. I was like, so when I came and I told my mom, she was like, oh, I said, that's the issue. And the other officer knew immediately. He just looked at me. He was like,
right.
I said, hmm? He was like, there's no protest here, ma'am. Huh? I was like, and then the other one stepped in. He said, where are you trying to go? I said, Arby's. He said, just go right around and go around the front. I said, okay. So I went around and I got in the line to Arby's. Now, Arby's is right next door to Taco Bell. And that Taco Bell is where the young man, the heading of the newspaper said he lost his job because he had a mask that said Black Lives Matter. Now, up there, Arby's is right next door. They share the same parking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Arby's didn't close. Nothing on the right closed. Nothing on the right closed. Everything in the back closed, like Walmart and all of that. They wanted the customers safe. And I'm like, safe?
Which I think is crazy, especially if they didn't let anybody have a protest. I had just missed it because I went through and went to Dunkin' Donuts, got my little iced coffee. And by the time I got through and was leaving, I seen the police up there because I had to go somewhere else. So I had to jump on 80 and I was looking like, oh, they must have started the protest. That's disheartening. How you just gonna stop the protest?
But that's okay because the protest still occurred. So while I'm in the line getting my stuff, Arby's wasn't worried about anything. Let me catch you lovely people up, the great listeners that listen in. I love you guys. You have no idea. No idea. Thanks a lot. It's in Liberty, Ohio, where this protest was. This young man, he worked there and he's been there for 8 years as a team lead. And to my understanding, what they wrote, that he was a great employee, but he had a mask. Now, here's where the issue is. It said that you could wear a mask, right? And in their policy, you could wear a mask. It just couldn't be like vulgar language offensive. So clearly that was offensive to whoever was in there. Now, to fix that situation, all they had to do was supply a mask and put it part of the uniform and give it to them. And then you wouldn't have that issue. Anyway, she told him to take the mask off. They went back and forth and he walked out. He left. He was like, I'm not taking my mask off. Now, and even if, and his mask said Black Lives Matter, but I was explaining to someone I was communicating with, they said, well, I don't understand. I said, that's like if somebody has my mask on. I said, they have my mask on. I said, then there's an issue. She was like, well, your mask isn't offensive. I said, but we don't know. Because somebody might not like the show. Mike Filizzo is offensive. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like glitter lips. And it's offensive to me. You know what I mean? You have even like gay pride. If that's somebody might find it offensive to have a rainbow mask. So in order to eliminate that issue is to supply your staff with masks. And then you won't have those problems. But let me tell you where, so then I leave out. And as I'm leaving out, down a block, because they had it all blocked off. So they like weren't allowing you to protest in Liberty at that Taco Bell, because that Taco Bell was closed. They weren't even allowing you to. So boom, that was out. But guess what? You go down a block, that's where everybody was at. And then they end up marching up. Go ahead. You wanted to say something, Rugo?
This two things. Shit is real when Walmart is shutting down, because they only do that for Christmas. First of all. But the other thing is, when it comes, like, I'll just give you like some labor stuff, right?
Okay, yeah, give us some labor stuff. Enlighten us.
Let's say like this: you're claiming that Taco Bell didn't provide masks, right?
Right.
So and they didn't. I don't know. Obviously, they didn't have a uniform policy about this, or would have referred. They did. They did.
They did, and in there it said that every employee must wear masks. And you can wear your mask as long as it's not offensive.
Yeah, but this is the thing though. Okay, so first of all, you're measuring what offensive is based off of one person's judgment, right? Correct. The other thing is that, like, if somebody had on a Hello Kitty mask, and I don't know nothing bad about Hello Kitty, so I got no bombshell to drop or nothing like that. But the minute you let people start to express themselves with like different themes or whatever it is the minute that's an acceptable practice. It's just like in the nursing field, you might see somebody wear like Charlie Brown scrubs or something like that. You know what I mean? So like when I say like, oh, okay, that's okay because of this, right? I just think overall it was probably, no doubt it was poor. It was poor on that company or that manager to have to force that person into a stalemate of having to decide if they wanted to keep that job or not at that particular point in time, because of that mask. Because the one thing is, if she felt that it was inappropriate, why is it inappropriate for her? You know, that's the question, like, somebody needs to be asking her. Like, why was it inappropriate for you to tell this 8-year employee who's been dedicated? If you work at any place, 8 years.
Years.
You know what I'm saying? I can't, like, I don't.
And the team lead.
Yeah, the team lead, you doing the most. You know what I mean?
Right.
You coming in when nobody want to work. You coming in when the one person drop out, maybe not even drop out their uniform and say, I ain't doing this no more. You working when the person pick up their check and never come back again. You know what I'm saying? You taking out the trash when nobody else want to take it out. You cleaning the bathroom at a Taco Bell, which may be compared to hazardous waste material up in there. But you doing all of these things. And in that one moment, this person made a judgment call to not value that person's feelings, that person's belief on what was happening, that has been a wildfire of controversy and hopefully change after everything like this has happened. And she, I don't know if it's a she, he, or whatever, but that person, they just totally dismiss what was happening in the moment. Now, if they needed more education, ask that next question as to why you think it's appropriate to wear at work.
Right. That's a good point that you have. And I think even with the Black Lives Matter, I didn't think it was offensive, being that's what we dealing with right now, and that's what he believed. But some people may feel as though that some people that wear faith, God, Jesus, is offensive. So yeah. You have everything. Why is it offensive? This is something that I believe in. You tell me every employee must wear a mask, and you tell me we could wear our own mask as long as there's no vulgarity and it's not offensive.
So I wonder if he would have had a Confederate flag mask on, if she would have reacted the same way.
You in my brain. Exactly.
In your brain.
You were in my brain with that one.
Because you in the relaxation grotto. She over there relaxation.
If he wore a Confederate flag on his face, would she still feel the same way? Would they have had that exchange? Would we be now fighting that? Because clearly it's offensive to us for the Confederate flag, but folks, they don't care.
And what's interesting is that they are taking down the Confederate flags everywhere except Ohio. Except Ohio. Ohio did not pass that. Yep. How about that? We knew that anyway, though, right?
The first thing is, we were never a part of the Confederacy. So I don't know. I don't know exactly all the places. Okay, for example, there's this big thing going on in the military where they're like, why do we have bases named after Confederate generals? You know what I mean? They're like, why would the Union have bases named after the people who tried to overtake the government? It makes no sense to me, and it's making no sense to people that's in power now actually looking at it. But it's been a question that I guess people have been toying with. But it's just like, sometimes people aren't really bold to act. When you take into consideration Harvard, they had a building named after Woodrow Wilson, who was president of the United States, and it was like, hey, Woodrow Wilson, even though he might have been good with this one aspect of management and business and all that kind of stuff, he no longer represents what we believe of our building should be named after. So they removed his name because he also had a long list of supporting segregation and all that sort of thing. And it's everywhere. I mean, it's within every facet of our lives, is where you see these people who may have done things that may have been paramount at a particular time for a particular system or whatever, and then you see well, why would you blend those two things, especially talking about people who tried to overthrow this state? If that's the case, then well, let me not even say this. So anyway, it's wrong.
Say it.
Oh no, they'll shut us down. They'll be at the doors. It'll be terrible, and then there'll be protests on your street, my street, and her street.
Well, okay.
It's called wisdom.
Okay. All right. Well, go ahead.
Yeah.
So, you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Ain't you protecting us? Take it all down.
Yeah.
All right. Go ahead, Nick. What else you got out there?
Also, I guess the country group, Lady Antebellum, they're anticipating changing their name now because of everything that's going on.
What'd you say, Rugo? They should have been changing that.
Yeah, they talk about Antebellum the South, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, those were not good days at all. You know,
Right.
very, I mean, the heart of, like, you know, lynching and everything else, and they got, you know, the heart is like, especially when you talk about the music aspect of it. I mean, that's when Black culture was getting ripped off, but through. Well, not I won't say ripped off for music, because we were the originators of what they now call country music, and they dominate with that. I'm talking on the mainstream level, but also around that time period was when minstrel shows were extremely popular. You know what I mean? So it's like so much is like built into like what they're trying with that name represents, to where like it was a bad choice to begin with.
Right.
You know, just because you change your name don't mean that the hate in you ain't the same. So I mean, like, you know, and I think that's a tough thing for people down there, is that sometimes they can't look at how they separate themselves from the culture they grew up in, even if they don't embrace all of the things that were aligned with the past. But the thing is that, like, you still thought, hey, I can name my group this because this is who I'm targeting to sell stuff to. You know what I mean? So I don't care if these other people don't care about my name, or they find these problems with my name, because guess what? I'm not trying to sell records to them anyway. That's how I took it.
Isn't that what they said about Tommy Hilfiger?
Yeah, allegedly it was. Yeah, Tom. I mean, no, he got confronted on that, and he denied it. Was it? Yeah, he did. Who confronted him? Was it Oprah? Somebody confronted him about that. He denied the statement, but you know what I mean. His denial doesn't mean that it may not be true, especially when let's take it a step less than him. Sometimes it wasn't the fact, it wasn't what his thoughts were. It was when you walked into that department, when you walked into whatever department store, went to that section, and then all eyes became on you because they think of you about to shoplift some stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, so sometimes, like, even if that wasn't his thought, the places that sold his clothing in a lot of situations did wrongfully engage Black people or target them, not to have a better customer service experience, but for basic surveillance.
Okay. Now, what if he meant it allegedly? Let's say because I listened to it, and, you know, I always listen from both sides. And I didn't take it as my clothes aren't made for Black people as a racial, you know, in a racial tone, or just like, I didn't take it as being racial. I took it as maybe the way, because it was a lot of people that were like, well, you need to do like they did with Victoria's Secret. It was more like, well, our butts don't fit in this and blah, 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 blah. And I took it as more of from a professional aspect. Because if you look at, let's say, apple bottom jeans, I can't wear apple bottom jeans because I ain't got no apple.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, and that's the way I took it. I was like, where somebody who makes apple bottom jeans, you know, might tell somebody that's white, well, we don't make our clothes for white people. They're for Black people or women of color. You know what I mean? Something, you know, that you could fill it out, because I can't wear no apple bottom jeans because you be looking like, is that applesauce?
You know, applesauce.
You know what?
What happened, honey?
Well, we can't say not all, because there are some white girls
Well,
That's
now,
a real samantha
but I'm talking back then. Now they cut
Right.
it out. They can rock
They've
that.
been eating greens, cornbread, neck bones, whatever else. Get
Well,
it, girl. I ain't mad at you.
I think the thing is though, okay, I think where he got it, where he like, I
Original
think
standpoint. That's what I was trying to say.
yeah, I think the issue became like, okay, if he was presented with the question of like, hey, there's African Americans wearing your clothes, and he had this bizarre feeling like, oh, I don't know what to do, you know, or whatever, and he did, and let's say he responded in an awkward way, because I think some of this story is in truth. The issue is this, okay, being if I make something, let's say I make, I don't know, cakes, right? I make cakes. When I make that cake, or I make tennis shoes, or I make whatever, when I make that particular thing, I make it for whomever to enjoy. Like, if you like my cakes, come back. I don't care what color you are, what creed you are, what religion, whatever. If I make these tennis shoes, and you enjoy them, know that, you know, I guess for me to hang up became, well, why would you even respond to that question in a way that would make people believe that there was some sort of issue?
Because some people were, this is all alleged, so follow me. I read it, you know, and I don't remember it verbatim.
Gotcha.
But the issue was that we can't fit in this clothes. Why don't he make clothes for that we can actually fit? I can fit.
But I think
Right.
I think that's a crazy misconception, because we all come in all shapes and sizes, just like they come in all shapes and sizes.
Right,
You know
exactly.
what I'm saying? So like, even the conversation about not being able to fit, I mean, the thing is that, like, you know, if there are people who design stuff, like, for example, you might go into Express, right?
Okay.
I know that I'm at least two to three sizes removed from being an Express, right? Right?
Like Express.
You know, it's just like, when I look at that, I'm like, okay, like, they, you know, they make a clothing for this particular body, you know what I mean? And you know, and I know that, hey, that is not my body, you
So
know.
don't go there.
But to say that, but my issue wouldn't be to say that they don't make clothes that fit a black body. They don't make clothes that fit my fat body. Is what I'm saying. You know what I mean? You know,
Like, that's the problem.
that's the problem. You know, but I mean, we could break that down into so many different pieces, but I won't right now.
Okay. Now, remember with Victoria's Secret, the owner, remember they used to have the, Nick, help me out. Both of y'all can help me out. Did you used to watch the fashion show? Remember they used to have a fashion?
Yeah.
And then they did away with the fashion show. They did away with the fashion show because it was people who were saying, you know, the LGBTQ community was, I hope I got all the letters right. Shout out to y'all today. It's Gay Pride Month, June. So shout out to Gay Pride. But they wanted to know how come there weren't any transgender people in the Victoria's Secret fashion show. And guess what he said? He said because he created a fantasy, and that's the fantasy that he wanted, women.
Right.
And you know, you had some people that said, oh, they don't even wear enough clothes, they don't want, and it's almost, it's like, it's so unfair because, and this is just me speaking, if I had a company, which I do, and 2 or 3 people feel some type of way, so okay, y'all feel this way because I didn't paint my walls green, and you want to come in and change my store, it's my idea. Just don't shop there. You know what I mean? That's just the way that I feel, but that's why he just did. He said, I'm not going to debate back and forth why there isn't a transgender Victoria's Secret model, because they want to, you know, the breakthrough, I guess. I don't know. I'm not thinking for them, but I believe it was to that effect when I had read up on it. And he just did away. He said, okay, well, it won't be a Victoria's Secret fashion show. How can you come in and change somebody's mind and their vision? And that's what's happening. And, you know, and we'll segue into what's going on now. which is very different. And to just say, okay, well, there's no transgender models. And then what you want to just shut it down. And then somebody has to say, okay, let's make transgender models part of the Victoria's Secret. My thoughts are, why don't you just have transgender models? You know, somebody create a line and have transgender models, and then it doesn't have to be under the name of Victoria's Secret.
Right.
Alleged. Let me cover myself because I read so many different sites. I don't even know where I got it from. I can't even cite where I got it from. But don't you think that's a bit much? To just change your idea? You know, because when Rugal was saying that, you know, you make clothes for all body types and, you know, the whole nine, but he was pretty much saying that he had that as his vision. So his vision wasn't a transgender, and he wanted to keep his vision. So what's your
right? And at the time of his vision, the transgender community wasn't
as popular
as it is now. So, you know, I know they want to be included in everything, but there's some things you just have to just stand down, period. And that's one of them. You can't just like you said, you can't get mad at somebody about their vision, the way they want their business run. You can't get mad at them about that, especially if they're not being racial or, you know, they're not being discriminatory. Put it that way.
That's what they're trying to say, that they're discriminating against them, and that's, you know, that's their fight. Go ahead, Rugal, what you got to say?
You know what? That is inclusion is very important, right? And I think that the challenge becomes, first of all, okay, if you have a person who comes to the decision that they are not the right sex that they were assigned at birth, and they want to make those changes, then they make those changes. And I think that, you know, when we start talking about accommodating people based off of like what we believe the ideal image of beauty is, if we continue to do that, if they did that 20 years ago, there would be no Tyra Banks. Or 30 years ago, I don't know how long she's been in the game. You know, how long did it take for them to get a black model, right? Long time, you know.
Long time.
And how long did it take for mainstream fashion to like recognize like black fashion, or to recognize black models, or anything like that? And when we would see it, we would be like, oh, that's an oddity. You know what I'm saying? Where did this person come from? You know, and it, you know, so I just kind of feel that one of the things is, you shouldn't alienate people to want, okay, if Victoria's Secret stuff makes women feel beautiful, makes them feel more attractive, or, you know, whatever it does, and you have a person who is not assigned at birth to be a female, but then they transition, I still think that person should still have the opportunity to feel just as beautiful as the person who may have been assigned that sex at birth. I think the difficult thing for about this conversation is it's really like, man, it's okay. I know I'll pause for a minute there, but I think the thing is like, I think he should have. I mean, we can't tell anybody how to run their business or what their thoughts and things are, but I do think it's important that the conversation is had, and sometimes, like, I don't know, I can't really say. Okay, let's put it like this: are we okay? What if there was a model who was transgender and was post-op, right? So there's like no there's like
you wouldn't know, and that's, you wouldn't even know. She would just, it would just be a female at that time if it's post-op. And that's where I'm going. Why did anybody have to even say anything? Because
Well,
here's the thing, I'm like, well, they're female now.
yeah, and then the other thing is too is that like if let's think about the other women, right? Who are like the women who are there.
In the dressing room?
No, the women that are the models.
Okay.
Okay, what if I mean because I don't know these people, right? I don't know their sexuality. So like I mean like I could see like I mean like so let's say it's a woman who's bisexual who's one of the models who's I mean did they investigate that? I mean are they is there the issue will be the issue for me is there a model that has been rejected because of their sexual um preference or identification. Like so to me that would be more of a stronger thing if it was like, hey, we got a model, this model just happens to be this, and we're saying no. But he's saying no to the idea.
I got you. I got you.
Which I think could be more harmful. I mean, because right now we're it's people saying, it's court systems all over this country that have said no to the idea of charging people with murder when they've done murderous acts. You know what I mean? So it is, yeah, I just kind of think that it should have been further discussed to see, like, was there somebody that was done an injustice because of his insight on how he envisioned what he wanted to happen.
Who is that your smoke alarm or is that yours? Rugo, that's your smoke alarm?
No, I don't got no noise in the background.
Is that you, Nick, with the smoke alarm? I hear that beep, beep. All right.
That might be me.
Wait a minute. I hear the beep.
That might be me. It might
change your battery.
Yeah, hey, that thing been beep. Hey, as long as it's been beeping, if it had stopped beeping, the battery wouldn't be dead. It's been beeping forever.
That's the smoke alarm, the beep for the smoke alarm. So you used to it. You was like, I don't have no noise over here.
Well, right. Like you tune it out after a while.
Well, yeah, but I keep going to the store and I forget to buy 9-volt batteries. Like,
and it's a 9-volt.
I think it is. Well, I'm making the assumption it's a 9-volt.
Okay, check and see. Mine was like something odd.
I didn't even investigate the beep. I'm like, oh, it'll stop, or there it go.
Yes, it can save lives. Change the battery. All you got to do, how about just take it out and just keep it in your pocket, or tell your wife to keep it in her purse. Well, yeah, it ain't gonna work anyway.
I'm gonna have to just write 9-volt on my hand. It's working enough.
There you go. All right, there you go. Hey, listen, this is what I found out something new, which is really, really cool. Did you know when two gay people get married, that they could take one or the other, like say two men, they could take the other's last name? I had no idea, because that was a question for me. So I asked one of my little friends, I said, tell me now, I know y'all getting married. Now, do you keep your same last name or what? And then he told me, he was like, oh no, Mel, you could choose to take the other person's last name. So he said that he was going to take his last name because his family was more welcoming or more open to the idea of gay marriages.
Well, there's men who have taken names, like I think in the Spanish culture, you take the name of the wife.
You take both.
You take both?
That's why if you notice in the Spanish culture, they have two last names. They have the mother's and the dad's. Mm-hmm. So that's it. But when you get married, I don't know. You just take the spouse's last name.
My friend
that I know
they took each other's last name, so they go by both last names. A friend of mine.
Oh, okay. So they just use both.
Right.
Okay, so they keep it. Okay. That's why I was just wondering, because I know like with the female, usually you'll go, but with the males, usually that's like the dominant partner last name. But when you have two people, they said that you could take on one or the other. And I just found that out. I was like, wow, interesting. But two females, I guess you would take, you said, Nick, you use both of them?
Well, you can choose to use the one spouse's name, but they decided to use both of their names together and just hyphenate it.
Oh, okay. Or can you just use your own? Can you keep your own?
Yeah, just like I could have kept my own.
And you just, but it's usually like let's say for instance, like Jada Pinkett Smith, she did both because she wanted to keep her last name, and we have an issue with her keeping her last name and not wanting to change to his, so she did both of them.
Right.
And I just found that out, and I thought that was really, really interesting.
I know this though.
What you know?
It's causing my wife a lot of hell. You know, with the name change and everything like that.
Is
like,
it?
Like to the point where I'm thinking like it might have been better for you not to even have did it. You know what I mean? But I mean, it was her choice. She wanted to do it. It wasn't. I had nothing to do with that decision. But I mean, I guess I did. I married her, right? I had everything to do with it.
You know what?
You know, it's you know. But the thing is, it's been like a pain. Like especially just like adding her to insurance. You know, they're like, well, the marriage certificate isn't enough. Oh, getting that new visa, getting that new ID you need in order to fly. Horrible if your name has been changed. Like you got to find all these documents and all this kind of stuff. And then if I did, and it was like all this kind of, and it was like sort of like, okay, it's there, like the certificate should be enough, right? The certificate should be enough. But then they're like, well, you got to show joint assets and all this other stuff and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, well, what if it's not all like that? You know what I mean? You know, it's really weird how America wants to verify marriage.
And it's that way even when you said for flying.
Yeah.
When I went to go get my license where I'm able to go ahead and just fly instead of carrying a passport, from me being divorced, I had to go and I had the marriage license. I had to go find the divorce. I got to get my divorce papers to verify this is this. We're divorced, but I'm the same person. It was really, it's a lot of work. And like you said, you would think like your marriage license would be easy. I said, what? Well, we need your divorce papers. I said, man, them things could have went out. They been out there with Gilligan at the island. You know, I'm like,
listen, I'd have been through the ringer trying to change my license from Pennsylvania to Ohio. I had to have my birth certificate. I had to have all of my marriage certificates and all of my divorce decrees, and they have to be notarized. I can't give them the letter that I was sent. They all have to be notarized. I'm like, why do you got to know every doggone time I was divorced or remarried? What?
They need to make sure that it's valid. And I think it's probably because so many people coming up with fake IDs and fake diplomas, fake license, stealing the people's children. Like they're making it a lot more complicated, but when you look at it, it's for the betterment, I think. But I did have to dig, and I'm like, oh my goodness, divorce decree. Now I got to go find where the heck that is at. You know what I mean?
Right.
And in my case,
go ahead.
We had to create, because like, you know, she had her separate bank account. I had my separate bank account. Like there were things that I already had that she just came into, and you know, and then it kind of make you think like, well, maybe you should revisit your will. And then, and actually, they never asked for that. Like if maybe they should have just asked for that. That would have probably been better. But they still, it's all this stuff about
ask for your will.
They didn't, but they might as well. You know what I mean? It should have been one of the options. It might be one of the options. I didn't read. You know, you like if you got A, you don't need B, but if you got C, that trumps A, and then you got D over here. You know, all that different stuff. And then you got to wait in the line. Jesus.
You got to wait in the line for them to tell you you don't have B and C.
Hey, right. Twice in the same day. Twice. Like I went home like, oh, we got that. Came back because the line was low. They was like, oh, no, we need this one that comes from this place, whatever. And I'm like, even though it's decorative, it says right on it, state of Ohio.
Nope, they need that notary seal.
Yeah, I guess so. They wanted my $2 and my stamp.
Going through it.
They want your $2 and your stamp.
Yeah, because you couldn't. Check this out. She went in the office to try to get. She went in the courthouse to try to get it, and they told her she in the courthouse, right? And they tell her, "Well, we're not doing." She's in the office. She's in the courthouse in that office, and they say, "Well, we're not doing those types of transactions here. I mean, now because of COVID, you would have to mail in a envelope and mail in your request with your check or money order or cash to get it done." But they're
How did they get in there?
exactly.
Right.
They're telling
That's
her
crazy.
that she's in the damn office. I'm like, with all of that, you could have just did it, right? All of the explanation you're doing, it didn't make any sense to me. I actually called him. I said, so I have to. So she was in the office, had the conversation, but you couldn't have went and got the paper. Weird. Now I could have seen if they would have like, it's a process time, and so because of that process time, we got to do it. But that wasn't even the case. I'm like, once she up in there, you had already got the COVID, and she got it. You know,
Right.
that it wasn't the point. You know, y'all done let her all up in there.
That's nuts.
Yeah, very complicated system. You know.
Now, how do you feel with the way things are going with the protest? How you feel about that? What's your thoughts on the protesting? Enough is enough.
I think that the first thing is
Let's put this out here because you were in the hospital, so you weren't able to shut up with us. So I want to know your thoughts. And
my thoughts are it's turned to the point where I remember when Kaepernick was doing his thing, right? And then Nike ended up giving him they end up endorsing him after the fact because of what he was doing or whatever. And the thing,
front page.
I didn't catch that. What was that?
You made front page. What was it? Which magazine was that? ESPN or something?
Yeah, he was like the man of the year or something like that. But the thing to look, I mean, not the thing I look at is I think I made a statement at this time is that like this protest is brought to you by, is sponsored by, you know. But I think the good thing about what's happening now is that these businesses, even if they may be pandering, realize that hey, we're talking about billions of dollars that Black people spend in you know all the time. We need to make a paradigm shift to to have them be honored in these facilities, especially when you think about and it's only to what I know, that one event at Walmart in Cincinnati, was it Cincinnati or Dayton, where the young man had the BB gun and they shot him. He's I can't think of his name right now. But there was a BB gun that he picked up in the store, and he was walking in the store with it. Somebody said that he was allegedly trying to point it at people, and he wasn't. There was no video to prove that or anything like that, and they shot him dead. I can't think. I for the life of me, I feel bad because I can't remember his name. But
you probably can't remember his name because there are so many.
So many, yeah, really, yeah.
Right.
Like that's what's sad.
Mm-hmm. But the thing was that like I think that the push now needs to be, for example, you have governments that are like government bodies that are passing resolutions talking about, well, racism is discrimination or however they're wording and stuff, but identification without a process, without some level of punishment, without some level of like of intervening to include people at the decision table or in the boardroom or in management, you know. So are these companies just saying, well, you know, we believe Black Lives Matter, and this is what we have, you know, this is what we're doing, you know, to recognize that we want people to know, but you haven't promoted anybody, you haven't hired anybody, you haven't interviewed anybody, you know what I mean? You haven't. It's these multiple steps that you need to do outside of acknowledgement. You know, because the acknowledgement goes into how you practice your business practices. If you believe that even if they even if they said, well, we believe all life matters. Well, then if all life matters, then are you paying a livable wage for all people? No, you're not. You know, there's discrimination on what women get paid. There's this discrimination on what they'll pay people, period, for a job based off of how much they actually get, bring in revenues. And, you know, so the conversation just can't be, we recognize what's going on and we're on your side. It has to be, we're on your side in a real way. And these are the steps we're doing to progress your argument.
John Crawford III, is that his name?
Yeah, I believe, yes.
22-year-old, in Dayton, Walmart, yes.
Yeah.
When you've made the statement, all lives matter, or when you hear that statement and they're like, all lives matter, Nick, I want to know, what's your thoughts on that? When you hear people say all lives matter, they're like, when you say Black Lives Matter and they say all lives matter, what's your response to that?
Like I put on my Facebook the other day, nobody's saying that all lives don't matter. It's the Black lives that are being slaughtered.
Okay.
Period, point blank, on a daily. And listen, please don't come on my post with that negativity, because I'm with it and I got time today.
Oh, you off today?
No, this was the other day when I posted that. I got time today. Y'all come on here with this negativity if you want to. You gonna be mad at me. You gonna unfriend me, whatever. But yeah, nobody's saying all lives don't matter. Yes, every life matters, but every life is not being slaughtered because of the color of their skin. Black people's lives are.
Well, here's the thing. If all lives matter, there will not be a reason or a need for a Black Lives Matter.
Thank you. We wouldn't be protesting.
You know, it's like, come on. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, what I look at it is like, this is the issue. How I would answer that question is that, like, okay, people always talk about we're as strong as our weakest link, right? You ever hear that terminology? Mm-hmm. And in this case, if our weakest link is our society continuing to have, okay, like every generation, things on paper kind of get better for us, right? So if you were to say, like, hey, there was this time where it was slave ships, and then there was this time where there was an abolitionist movement, and like we don't have slaves anymore. Then it was this time we went to Jim Crow, and then after Jim Crow we had to go into civil rights, and then after civil rights we had to go into affirmative action. Then after affirmative action we had to continue to take on the issues of police brutality and all these other things, or whatever, right? So if our weakest link continues to be the oppression of people, then what are we doing as a whole to fix those things that are causing this reaction to just this population? And until we have a society that is all inclusive, that does not discriminate, that does not identify people just for being who they are in their skin, we are not there yet. And this is why it's saying that these lives matter, because we have been treated the worst. I mean, and I hate to say that, because Native Americans, yeah, you know, but I feel like when I say like those fights, it's like, depending on what part of the country you're in, it's Native Americans fighting for equality, fighting for certain things. Well, you know, if it's Mexican Americans, it's Puerto Rican folks, it's whoever is, and then depending on what time frame you're talking about, it was Italian people, it was Irish people, it was all these people who were in this situation that may not have been as historically impactful as ours, but our society, if we don't fix those issues that causes that create weak links in our society, then that's the overall issue, is that how do we fix these particular things? If we know that there's housing discrimination, well, we got to fix that. And how do you fix that? Well, you got to start penalizing people, because changing the rules ain't really a thing. Changing the rules don't really help if you can't, like, you know, if you can't, like, say, well, you know what, maybe we could just give you the land value of what that house costs, because you don't want to rent it out to people of color. You know, I mean, that may be an extreme thought. I don't know. But the point I'm saying is that it's pointing out, when you say Black Lives Matter, it's pointing out all, because I went to their website, and they're fighting for, that's one segment of what they're fighting for, is the police brutality thing. And then there's this whole thing of just equity. And so, like, if the message is equity, then that's the thing that people need to look at. Like, hey, this isn't equitable. This isn't right. This isn't equal. This isn't fair. This isn't balanced. This isn't playing on the same playing field, or however they say that terminology. You know, and so if these places, I mean, if these institutions don't understand that, then you know, you had a peaceful protest to turn into a revolution. It's turning into a revolution. When you talk about Kaepernick taking the knee, to now people burning down precincts and police precincts in Minneapolis. You know, I mean, hear us when people try to communicate with you. And I think that's the biggest issue right now, is that, like, right now they listening because they ain't got a choice but to listen, you know, but we got to go, the issue has to be, what have you changed? What,
Now,
you know, what
I will
legislation
say,
are you fighting for to change this?
I will say this. I'm glad you brought that up. Black Lives Matter and what we're protesting. With Black Lives Matter, like you said, there's a part of it that's there. What we're actually protesting is for equality and police brutality to stop. Like me, per se, am I with the whole Black Lives Matter? I understand your movement. Yeah, Black Lives Matter. However, like you said, you read, like I read everything too. And that's different than people that are out there protesting. And everybody is not protesting the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, I'm trying to be careful when I say it. What a lot of people are protesting is stop police brutality, get those people out, get those, bad police officers out, and have the good ones come in. Now, I did have Sergeant Moss on the show, was it 2 weeks ago, Nick?
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about the issues that are inside, the issues that happen inside, and they have their own issues within himself, where he's the president of Police Officers Equal Rights. So they have issues inside where they try to fix it on the inside. Then I had Officer Malik, who said we police each other from where, you know, from his precinct where he's at, where they're like, no, that's not okay, blah, 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 blah. And if you could talk down before you take down, let's try this first. And then you have larger cities that it's like, it's a constant fight. And when you try to check one of your, and that was his thing too, and a female, I believe, her partner tried to check her and let her know, like, you can't do this. And then when they got back to the precinct, that officer that tried to say, hey, that's wrong, they fired that officer and kept that white officer. So they need equality within.
Yeah.
Within.
And that's one thing too, is that like back in the day, it was like you had to live within that municipality in order to have those jobs, and then that was gone away with. And so you might get people who police areas. I mean, not even say police, but just work in areas that do it because they got a paycheck, do it because they're going to have a retirement. You know, I'm not saying not all, but I'm saying that there is evidence that it is happening. You know, I think one of the things is that, I mean, even on the test, like when you take the police, when you take the civil service test, you do get more points. Well, at least I know you used to. You get more points when you live in the city and different things like that. But I think though what we need to do is engage people to understand that they can go and get those jobs. You know, even if, and I think too, though, people who are middle-aged need to know that they can still go and get those jobs as well.
Okay. Oh, look, all right.
That, I mean, that's really, yeah. Because I mean, I'll go ahead.
No. Go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I was just gonna say, like, that's even like with some of my issue with the school board is like, you know, people say, well, what are y'all doing and all this kind of stuff, and it's like, well, we are elected to represent our community, but the issue is that there's an overarching systemic racist system that's in place that tells you, hey, you shouldn't be able to vote for people. Hey, we're going to end up replacing, you know, we're going to put in somebody who has ultimate control over you. What? Like, what system is that? Why would a black person or any person embrace a system that says we're going to put somebody over you that has no accountability to no one?
Well, I thought this was interesting since you brought that up, and then we'll get back on the topic. It's time for change, people.
Mm-hmm.
When in the news it showed that, and I'm speaking of the Youngstown, Ohio area, I want to put that out there, and there's a few cities in Ohio where the state has taken over. And I thought it was a dismantlement of the school board where in Youngstown, they kind of kept you together, but you don't have a voice.
Well, okay, go ahead. I'll let you finish.
And this is me, you know, the outsider. I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, well, you have the school board, they still meet the whole nine, but they have somebody controlling everything. And they're like, the school board don't have a voice. And let me know if I'm wrong, because I'm just speaking from the people. Why is the school board even there? Why do we even vote? Because they're not even able to be active. I just want to say that part first, and then I'm gonna go with my next one. Is that true or false?
Are you asking me to say are people's thoughts true, or
no. Is that true? Their thoughts, is that accurate? Is that accurate that you guys, you have meetings the whole night, but you don't really have a voice because the CEO is running and controlling everything? Is that true?
They have the CEO has I'm pulling up a document that I just wrote. Okay, the CEO has total operational and managerial control over the district, and he can ask the board for their advice, right?
Okay.
So,
all right.
That's
pause right there. Pause right there. Okay, he can ask the board for their advice, but ultimately, not like before where the board made the decisions, he makes the decisions.
He makes the decisions. Now, okay, go ahead.
I heard on the news that the CEO was asking the board, follow me, who is, air quotes, don't control anything, to put on the ballot to ask for more money.
Yeah.
How does that work? If the board doesn't have a voice and you make the ultimate decision, why are you and you spend all this money? How much money was it?
Oh, I can break down the numbers. They spent a $23 million surplus in 3 years.
Okay, and then right. See, Nick, that's what I'm saying. So all of that you done spent, then bought furniture and everything else. We ain't gonna say how we know that. You know what I mean? Okay, doing what you want to do. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, I said it. When you know some people, it's like, okay, you just spending all this money, and then you saying that the school board doesn't have a voice, but you asked the school board to put on this ballot that's coming up in November. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Let me ask for more money. I got a problem.
Let me run down the history with this real quick.
Go with it.
The state's been over our school district since 2010, but from 2010 to 2016 or to 2017 in Youngstown, what happened was the state was over academics, but anything in the budget had to be approved by the Board of Ed, right? Unless they were overstepped by the commission because it was something they needed for academics, right? Okay. So even if there was a particular hire that they wanted to make, and we said, well, hey, this person is no good for the district, we don't want the person, they would bring in the person anyway, because they could do that. Or if we said, this person is great for the district, and there was a gentleman by the name of Jerome Harrell, I don't know if you know that guy, but
I do.
it was in the paper, and he was excellent. He was over this school we had called what was Athena was the girls' school for, I can't think of what the boys' school was. But anyway, we had like this one
It'll come
academy.
to me.
Yeah, it was
Alpha.
Alpha. So he was one of the people that helped spearhead that program. We were having a lot of success with our young men between the school age, between the 6th and 8th grade or whatever. And so for whatever reason, before I got there, they got rid of that program. Then there was a situation where they got rid of him, and we voted to keep him, and they just overturned that, right? And said, no, we don't want him. You know, here was a guy who every time I see him, I give him praise. Every time I see him, I talk about how I wish that he was back in the district. And now he's doing that great work for somebody else. You know what I mean? And here was a guy who lived in our community, went to church in our community, was seen at the grocery stores in our community, engaged families in our community, and they didn't want to keep that guy because one person on that commission had a bug up their crawl about something that he may have said, you know, allegedly how that happened. But the point was, during that time, we had control over the dollars. So your elected board was able to create that $23 million surplus. Okay, the elected board did that. So what ended up happening was, still under state control, the state ramped up their control and put a CEO in place. And so when that CEO came in place, and that's fiscal year 17, which would be school year 16, 17, they had a $23 million surplus. After that, they depleted that to the point to where, let's say there's no levy. We have a 5-year forecast. Let's say there's no levy. Actually, if you wanted to, I don't know if you can share, if I can share the screen or not, I can actually show you. But the point is, I got the numbers here. If there was, okay, at the end of this 5-year forecast, if there was no levy passed, we would be $48 million in a deficit of $48 million if there's no levy passed. If there is a levy passed, over those 5 years, it will create $18 million, right? But that's still, there's still a deficit of $30 million. It's 29.6 something, so $30 million, right? Now, he wrote a letter to us saying for us not to use our kids as political pawns when it comes to doing this levy. And the question becomes, well, if you want to use chess as an analogy, you knocked all the pieces on y'all. The ADC, which is the board that hires the CEO, the ADC, the Academic Distress Commission, the CEOs, y'all have knocked all the pieces off the table and cracked the board in half. Because not only before the money was used up, they already cut programs. They cut our STEM programs. They cut our discovery schools. They cut our foreign language. They cut like the supports that were helping teachers with kids to learn how to read and do math and all that kind of stuff. They cut social workers. They did all that before the money was gone. So if you cut all those services, what did you spend the money on?
Furniture.
Well, the point is like this. The numbers. This is how it would go. If a levy is not passed, in 2022 there will be a $7.6 million deficit. In 2023 there will be a $25.4 million deficit.
Okay, pin that right where you are. Okay, now if there was no school board, like they're trying to dismantle, and the school board don't get along and all that other stuff, and how does the CEO get funding from us?
Well, that's why the legislation. Remember, this legislation was done behind the backs of the citizens of Youngstown ABC.
I remember.
So they rushed it through, and so what the state says, what the state mandate is that only an elected body of governance or what have you can impose or ask for a tax. So their plan was to do this: get rid of the people who the people selected, and put in an appointed board that the CEO has influence over who maybe not who's appointed, but who with the
The
pool
decisions.
is.
So
No,
he's
the
still in charge.
what I'm saying like this is like, okay, he has oversight overseeing like, okay, there's 20 people to choose from. These are the 20 people I would like you to pick from, right?
Okay.
So if the mayor is picking 20 people that this guy is vetting, or do you think they're going to tell the community that they're $30 million in debt, even if the levy is passed? If you think they're going to tell the community that they had $23 million prior to them taking over, and they swung it the other way to where if there's no levy passed, that's almost a $75 million gap. You know what I'm saying? Like how do you go from 23 million to negative 48? And then the thing was with his letter, the biggest slap in the face about his letter was that he told us not to use our kids as a pawn, but he did not come with any plan that he had for the district. He did not come for any plan that he had to sustain the district. He did not come with any plan he had to educate children over this time period, or how he was going to fix the district to be able to reduce the $30 million if a levy was passed. None of that information did he give because he didn't have it. And at our last board meeting, I spoke very passionately about it. And I said, hey, somebody needs to pay. Like, somebody needs to pay for this because you have destroyed our school district. You have destroyed our school district.
Now, I do have a question about, shout out to Keelan Bilal. He gave out some, what are they, little iPads or?
Tablets, I believe.
Yeah, for the youth. Now, didn't the Youngstown City Schools have, there you go laughing, because listen, you know I go to the meetings and I'm like, well, wait a minute. The Youngstown City Schools, they had tablets, right? To give out to everybody?
Before the CEOs came in on board, we had a plan with the district to we wanted to be a 1-to-1 district, meaning every child, one device, right?
Okay.
And somehow when MOHIP came involved, there was supposed to be this push. Now, let me tell you this. This is what people need to understand. One of the reasons why this happened was because when the board had control and under like the board's design, when you had like VPA, Cheney VPA, right, Visual and Performing Arts STEM School, they got an award from Apple where Apple provided devices for that whole building because of what we were doing that was so cutting edge at the time, right? So of course we're doing a cutting edge program that gets recognized by a major manufacturer, a major contributor to American society as we know it. And what do?
God bless me.
They remove the program, right? They get rid of the program. Why would you do that, right? So we were moving towards, at that point, adding in, and this was in 2015. So we were adding in devices so everybody would have them at East, and everybody, we were doing this, right? So somewhere along the line, when the state took over, there was purchases supposedly made, but they kept saying there was a lack of equipment. And I'm like, well, our enrollment isn't growing. For this,
where's the equipment going?
You know, and they're not letting, at that point, they weren't letting the children take them home on a regular basis or anything like that. So, okay, so what's really going on? And so now the argument they're saying is, well, those things, you know, the devices we bought then, they're aging out. We got to get new stuff and stuff like that. And that stuff happens, right? It happens with buses. It happens with air conditioners. It happens with all that kind of stuff. The issue is, how do you strategically buy things to where you don't have to spend $3 million and make a purchase for 4,000 of them? I don't know how much they cost with the price. I'm just making that up as an analogy. Mm-hmm. But you bring in stuff in layers so that you can replace old stuff and then move the new stuff, or even say, well, these iPads are this generation, they may not be good enough for our students who are doing some hard calculations and some different things, but we can transition those to the preschool children, you know, because maybe it can run those particular things or whatever like that, you know. So there's a system that you put in place when you're being fiscally responsible. There's a system that you put in place when you want to ensure that all children have the same opportunity. And they have failed to do this. Even over the course of this COVID event, I personally wrote a letter to the governor and some other officials because he didn't want to feed kids over spring break just because it was spring break. And so I said to him, I was like, what constitutes, what makes children's hunger exempt over this week? And he's like, well, it's spring break. I was like, but the point is that there's no spring break anymore. You know what I mean? We're in a crisis. We're in a global crisis. Our issues are that people don't have access to money, so they don't have access to their jobs to gain money. If they're trying to get on unemployment, it takes weeks or even months. Some people still haven't gotten on it. The median income for our community is $24,000. So what's the savings amount that these people potentially may have? You know, you don't know. But this 1 week, just because was on the calendar of spring break, you choosing not to feed children. And I shouldn't have to call I shouldn't have to email an assistant to the governor to make that happen. Then our local NAACP, they talked about, well, why haven't you passed out these devices for children? It's kids still today trying to get devices or haven't gotten them or whatever their reason is and all that kind of stuff. But the push was that letter they came out from them was in early April. And you've been out since, early March, you know what I mean? Like, so what's the plan? Like, there's no plan. There's like, if we don't say anything, nothing will get done.
Okay.
And when you take away your elected voice,
and
you put people that are appointed, you don't know if they're going to have the same passions to call out a person for their injustices or the injustices that happen because of someone's actions or inability to act.
Okay. Now, so are there devices here still for the children to come
we
get?
have devices. They've been passed out. I mean, they've been passing them out and stuff like that. But I couldn't give
but that was a while ago though.
Let me tell you this. The first week, the first and second week of May, they were still passing out devices. School year was on the calendar to end on the 22nd of May.
Wait a minute. One more time. The devices
were
supposed to be out before the homeschooling, before we shut down, right?
Well, you would think that if you were gonna shut down the school indefinitely, that you would give the kids the devices before they left school. You would think, right? Now I can understand that homework is probably one of those things they probably got to keep on picking up. Or if you got the device at home, you get the email or whatever about the homework or whatever, right? Because that's going to probably be that's an ongoing thing, right? Lesson plans have to be planned out, stuff has to be graded, all that kind of stuff. So our teachers are working; they're still working, right? And then we're trying to well not now, but because of how late it is in the year. But I asked them, I said, well, what's the plan to keep these kids at least at level? Like, if they have the devices, are you giving them like lesson plans or reading things and all this kind of stuff or whatever? And they're like, well, yeah, we're doing that. And, we're going to do that. We have a plan to do this. We have a plan to do that. But you never really see the fruits of that plan, And so, like, it's really like, I was talking to a lady the other day and she was just saying like, well, I might have to start homeschooling my child. I was like, well, I think that from this equation, from everything that's happening, is making an equation to where homeschooling will probably be a part of actually homeschooling should have been a part of everyone's curriculum anyway, because your parents should be teaching you stuff at home, right? I mean, if you look at it like that, right? I mean, if it's life skills or it's whatever. Now, what we're looking at is probably merging more of what happens in school in the home because of what's going on now. I mean, so I think whenever there's something bad that comes from something like this, I think you can see something good in it. And I think the importance of it is that you'll be able to, people, if they're paying attention, will be able to really monitor how their children are learning. They'll be able to see like if the methods that are in place are working for their child to be able to learn. They'll be able to tangibly see the money's being spent in order to be able to like give their children educational experiences. Because one thing that's happened in Youngstown since the state has taken over is that less money has been spent in instruction.
I remember that because they didn't have books. I wanted to ask you questions about this because the way that it was the way they kind of backdoored, snuck in and took over. You know, even though, like I said, I've been going to school board meetings way, way back. I remember that one over there on the east side when it first started, we were in fiscal emergency and not academic at that time. So
it was like 2008, I think.
yes, that's exactly what it was. And it's like, okay, I'm watching this and I see it, and nobody wants to get involved until it's too late. You got to know what's going on. If you have a child that's involved in, no matter what city that you're in, and it's, I'm gonna say in state, you have to be involved and see what's going on, because it was out there. There were meetings out there. I remember the one where, shout out to Clarence Bowles when he got kicked out. You know what I mean? Always entertaining. But he came, and you had one where Madonna Chisholm here was actually the mediator. She was like the host mediator. Is that what you would call her at that time? And those meetings were there, and they were open to the public, and it's up to the public to get involved, especially when you have children. Go to those parent-teacher conferences, see what's going on with your child. I don't know what it is. I kept having different experiences with these different people. I am not making this stuff up, but continue to go, get involved, know what's going on. Because if you come late, you know, and you have, you know, it's like, okay, those letters are constantly going out, see what's going on. And then when you come late, you only get the back end of it. And the back end, and then you blame the people that's supposed to be fighting for you. But then it's too late. And it's like, okay, we need you to come out. We need you to do certain things. Now, I will say this, as a citizen, the meetings, and thank God that they were in the evening now, because before, and not even just a school board, even city council meetings, city meetings, what's going on in your community, those meetings usually take place during the day when they're at work. I will be the person to be at work. I was in management, so I was able to slip out. I ain't gonna say all of them, because you guys had your school board meeting at what, like 5 o'clock? So I was
ours have traditionally started at 5 o'clock, 5:30 and 4:30 in the summer.
Yeah, so get involved. Don't get backdoored like the city of Youngstown did. Lorain County, who else?
East Cleveland.
East Cleveland.
But see, there's also the question about this though too. There's a moratorium on the law now, and if that law was still in effect, you would have, I think, like 11 to 14 schools involved in this right now. One of them would have been Columbus.
Okay, see, so they kind of like backdoor came in, swooped, boom, and then it's like, what do we do? And then you try to fight, and then you have, you know, everybody has their freedom of choice. Everybody has their freedom of choice. The problem that I don't like is to see where, you know, you're looking, and like I said, I've been doing it for a long time and been down there, so I can see the different people that add a little fuel to the fire, so to speak. If they don't like what someone had said, because I think you mentioned earlier that, like with Jerome Harold, you got one person, this is all alleged, one person that dislikes this person, and okay, we're gonna vote this way. That's not okay. You have your freedom of choice, and I think that everybody needs to choose wisely. And like I said, for the listening audience, and I know all you lovely people all over, please contact your local school district. We got to fight for the youth, because I'm gonna tell you right now, the youth are fighting for us. Because old girl, right now, I can't go out there and run and say, you know, I can't breathe. I can't do that now without setting the insulin pump. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I'm like, oh, wait a minute, I gotta take my blood pressure pill. Listen, let's fight for the youth, because the youth is definitely fighting for us. Put it out there. I was having a conversation. You know, I like to talk. I don't even know where I was at publicly, but I was having a conversation, and this man told me, he said, here's the thing, Mel. He said, look at the youth. He said, look at them doing it. Each generation is like, you know, you have like, I'm not my ancestor. They just sat there, they did their thing. And it was like, you try to comply and be with peace. Like, okay, well, this is what we need to do. I'll share an incident that happened with me. I was young. I was in 3rd grade. And I remember, and this is how we kneel. We pray. Our ancestors pray. Our parents, our grandparents, everybody pray. They kneeled. Now it's kneeling has a whole different effect. And it's like, and I got to be honest, just like I said before, and I'll tell you again, when you kneel, that's the greatest form of respect. But I had a problem with the Pledge of Allegiance. I didn't believe in it. And I was always that child that if I did not believe in something, I did not do it. I'm still the same way. If somebody want to do something and it's going the wrong way, I'm like, that doesn't sound like a good idea. I'm cool. I'll catch y'all later. I've always been that person. I have my own freedom of choice. There was a Black teacher, shout out to you, Miss Young, if you're still alive. She wanted me to comply. She wanted me to comply so much. And she was like, you have to say this, like browbeating me, telling me I have to say this pledge. Did not ask me why I wouldn't say it. Never asked me why. Took me down to the principal's office. Shout out to you, Mr. DeBanzio, love him. White guy. He asked me the question. He said, well, Melanie, why won't you say the pledge? And I remember looking up, he was a short guy. And I said, because there is no justice for all. I felt that a long time ago. So I wouldn't say it. And he said, wow. He said, you don't feel as though that there's no justice for all? I was like, no. So what did we do? We came to a compromise though. And the compromise was just, you don't have to say it, just stand. But the person that was letting me know, like I had my person who was Black, a Black teacher, wanting me to comply. I'm sorry, I can't comply. I don't believe it. And then a white man said, you don't have to, but can you stand? So that was the compromise. And eventually I said, okay, we stood. And then eventually they did away with it. Boom, they weren't doing it no more in the school. And I applaud him and I appreciated him for that because he allowed me to have my voice and my choice. And then I had somebody sitting there trying to comply. So, and the reason I brought this up is because each generation is different. So when I was talking to the guy, he said, look at that. Unruly. Ruly children that is like, why? I'm not doing it. This is not happening. So each generation is different and I'm glad about it. If you don't believe in it, don't comply. Regardless if they the same color as you or not, don't comply. A lot of people feel as though the George Floyd, they're looking at that talking about a martyr. I got a problem with a martyr. A martyr is somebody who willingly dies for a cause. That man did not willingly die for it. So you better use your words appropriately, okay? That man was murdered. So you have your, and I hate to say her name, your vanilla wafer, Candace Owens. Stop. He's not a martyr. He was the person to say enough is enough. And when I saw it, over the time and you see it being done, and just like you couldn't remember the young man who, I can't even think of his name right now, the one I just told you, Walmart guy that I actually just brought up. Because it is so many. Why does it have to be so many? And why is it that we have to sit there and tell our children each time they go out the door, we pray for them when they leave out the door. But here's the problem. Why they have to be killed for just being that color. And it happens to women too. Let me tell you, a lot of people don't know, I was in a predominantly Black school. And then I switched overnight and went to a predominantly white school. And I'm going to tell you something. It was totally different. And I saw the mistreatment in our Black boys. I see them to this day. And I know they remember and they don't say anything. They complied. They don't say a single word because I didn't have it bad because I was a Black female. I guess I was no threat. And I didn't realize that, at the time. But when I was younger, I saw the mistreatment and I know it still bothers them. I know that it still bothers them. So with that being said, you shouldn't have to go out the door. Just like I told my homegirl D, I said, you don't know. She was like, you think, we had this years ago conversation. She said, you think racism still exists? I said, oh yeah, people are just hiding it. I said, her and I have the same last name. I said, here D, when you walk out your door, you represent your household. When I walk out my door, I represent my entire race. It's very, very different. Very, very different. And then now, with the way things are coming out, you're like, oh, wait a minute. And just because somebody has a history of a terrible history or a case or whatever it may be, a bad record, let me clear you up with this for the lovely people that say, oh, okay, they wasn't a good person because they have a record. There are police officers that put records on you. They put them on you. I'm telling you this because I know it, especially when I received a call and my son had no idea. He said, Mommy, I don't know why he said that. He was like, oh, you don't have a felony. He was like, I guarantee you'll have a felony by the time I'm done. That right there bothered me because I had to explain to myself, and he didn't understand why. So they're putting records on people. You know what I mean? They're putting records on people. So you want to make this person out to be a bad person for what? That still doesn't negate what you did was wrong. That still doesn't say this man needs to be killed or murdered. It does not justify the action. And to me, when you sit there and you say $20, a $20 bill was a fake 20, you tried to pass it off. Honey, please. I probably tried and didn't do it intentionally because money, US currency changes hands so much. Next, I'm gonna have to go, like I said, I'm gonna go when somebody give me a 20, I'm like, I'm gonna need you to mark that. I'm gonna need you to mark that because I ain't got time to be put in no chokehold. And some states did ban the chokehold, but I ain't got time to be dying over a $20 bill because you don't want to hear me. You don't want to hear my explanation. You will not believe me when I say, oh, I got that from that corner store over there. No, here go black woman, let's go on and take her down. I don't have time for that. And I applaud the young people for standing up and fighting for justice. It is time. There was a video out there where it was a peaceful protest. And I'm not against the police because we do need the police, okay? Let's be real. We need the good police. We need the people that service the community, because for some unknown reason, I don't think and these are the bad ones, like you got a badge, you're not servicing the community unless you're servicing your community. That's how I feel. They need to go ahead. But there was some police officers, they were down there and they used tear gas. And I think y'all saw this. I think you did. I don't know if you did, Rugal, if you were watching television while you was in the hospital.
I was too busy trying to fight the war against our education system.
There you go. We all fighting. You doing this.
Right.
Inside the house. We fighting inside the house. That's it. So don't think that you are alone. But what ended up happening is they used some tear gas for peaceful protesters, and all of a sudden the wind shifted and none of the people that they sprayed it on got them, and the tear gas came back on them. I said, oh, that was the whisper, the breath of our forefathers.
Oh God. Yes, sir.
Like,
yes.
That ain't gonna work. Did not work at all. So with that being said, don't, youth, we do appreciate you. Fight on, fight on, fight on. If you have asthma, don't fight. I'm just gonna be honest, because that tear gas, I'm for real to kill you.
Right.
And also wear your mask. Wear your mask. Don't forget what's going on. But I truly appreciate you. Fight on, fight on, fight on. And one of my friends asked me, she's like, you out there? She was like, I know you used to be out there. I said, yeah, I used to be out there. I said, but like I said, nah, I can't be putting in how many units I need. Wait, I got to check my sugar. You know what I'm saying? I can't do that right now. But
yeah, I ain't got enough albuterol, so I can fight in other ways.
Fight on, fight on. There was a guy back with Black Lives Matter 2016, there was an article that resurfaced where he actually damaged his own house, set it on fire, and blamed it on the Black Lives Matter movement from 2016. And then you have in Chicago where all those police officers, and you guys, please, if you have Facebook, you can go on to Shop Talk with Mel, they're posted on there, where they had probably like 20 of them went into a senator or a congressman's office and was lounging, eating his popcorn and coffee. They was on break. Okay. And they said, wow, looters were out, in the community, and they said rioting and all that other stuff. Rugal, I appreciate you fighting for the cause for education. We need to be educated. We definitely need to be educated. Keep speaking. Don't mistake your mask as a muzzle. Speak. Do what it is that you need to do. And with Keelan's, now I talked about Keelan with the, I keep saying iPads, tablets, giving out the tablets. It's a program, and it's called the Bridge Barber. And the Bridge is an acronym for Barber Reading Initiative, Developing Growth and Education. If you have somebody that, wants to be involved in this program, I have to put it out there. Anything positive, I'm putting out there, okay? You can email Keelan Bilal, KELANBILAL @me.com, or call if you want more information, 330-518-1960. And this program is for grades K through 3. K through 3. Teaching them how to read to them, letting them know there's positive role models out there. Let me see. Joining right now is through the Boys and Girls Club of Youngstown. So if you have a Boys and Girls Club, they have lots of programs there in your state, in your city. Go ahead and visit. Do what it is that you need to do. Shaquille O'Neal, he also invested funds right now, what's going on, into the Boys and Girls Club. So there's a lot of programs out there for our youth. Like Rugal, and you can also, with this program, with the Boys and Girls Club, and they're connecting with Youngstown City School District as well with that. So if you need to know about the Bridge Barber, what is the Bridge Barber, please contact those outlets that I just gave you. Again, if you have any questions and you just want to dial a number, some people just be like, what's the number again? 330-518-1960. 330-518-1960. And you can ask for Keelan Bilal. With the school district, I appreciate you, giving us the 411. I just need to know where this money was going to go, because I heard on the news, I had to roll over. I said, wait a minute, they want to ask the school board for more money, and the school board can't even make decisions. So it's like, okay, well, I want to ask the school board for more money. We raise our hand, we put out the more money. What is it, 7 million, you said, and we're still.
No. There's 18 million. The levy will bring in 18 million over the next 5 years.
Okay, 18 million over the next 5 years, but then they'll still be in the hole.
From 2022 to 2021 and 2024, and with the levy, we're still in the hole, $29 million and some change.
From the previous CEO, because I know first you were in y'all were
from both. I mean,
black before with the levy, because you guys were in the black before from the levy because y'all had lots of money.
Well, we had 23 million. We had built up a $23 million surplus, and that came with like finding like cheaper healthcare plans. We saved like $2 million a year off of doing that at the particular time. There was a lot of things that the elected board did to ensure that money would be there. And when you're talking about being in a situation from 8 years ago, being in fiscal emergency, to being solvent $23 million. So right. Your local people knew what they were doing, and they had the best interest for the community. In 2017 to the present day, they've pretty much exhausted all of those funds. For example,
they had furniture stores.
Well, hey, I wish I would have been in the furniture store and saw some craziness, but I wasn't.
Listen,
but this is
got tired of getting phone calls from that man.
If the
for real, that's where a lot of that money went. Like furniture store, telling you. Oh, is this man calling again? Listen.
Let me. I want to pull up the 5-year forecast so I can just show you guys this real quick.
Okay, because we got to move on because the show almost over.
Let's move on.
Okay. All right, Nick. Hold on 1 second, sweetheart. Look, I'm like, we got to get it going. You ready?
Yes, ma'am.
What's happening in the horoscopes?
All right, the horoscopes for the week of June 15th. Gemini, rethinking that money-making idea will bring well-deserved results and rewards. Go ahead and get that money. Cancer, you'll get the boast of confidence you need to make your long-term dream a reality. Go ahead and do what you got to do. Buckle down. Leo, listen before you act, or you may wind up taking a big detour. We don't want to do that. We trying to go forward. We ain't trying to go back or around. Virgo, communication is the key, and listening to others broadens your mind in amazing ways, even if they have very different points of view. Libra, it's natural to think about home and past when you're on the road, but don't dwell on it. Enjoy the here and now. Scorpio, Your confidence is high this week, and it's also an indicator of your power and talent. So this might be the right time to start that new endeavor. Sagittarius, romance and adventure go hand in hand now. So grab hold and hang on tight. Somebody looking for you. Capricorn, consider airing out that emotional issue you've had on the back burner or revising your game plan for hitting a shared goal. Aquarius, research and discussions with loved ones and friends might prove particularly useful as you realize your options. Pisces, hey, remaining creative and open to last-minute changes can help you go with the flow and make room for plenty of joy and forge the path towards your ideal future. And that's what I'm trying to do. Aries, you might clash with a higher up, requiring you to reflect on how to best handle power struggles. And Taurus, you might find yourself yearning to get out of your comfort zone and experience something out of the ordinary. So just go ahead with that flow. And those are the horoscopes for the week of June 15th.
Hey, that sound good. Rugo, what's happening in the movie world?
All right. Okay, what's going on right now in the movie world is that there's a new Academy Board of Governors, and this is who it includes. Oh, I'm sorry.
Who does it include?
Okay, let me explain who it is first. It's so funny because I can't see y'all. I'm up here trying to read it. The Board of Governors directs the Academy's strategic vision.
What?
I know. I'm sorry.
Did he pause? Man, come on, man. You know we do business. All right, let's talk about Dave Chappelle's 8 minutes and 46 seconds. Dave Chappelle's 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
I didn't see it yet.
Oh, it's bananas. Did you see it, Nick?
Not yet.
Y'all need to see it. He give it to it's very serious. It's
the lady who she mentioned something about Black Lives Not Mattering or something like that.
Candace Owens, the girl I was telling you about, like, get out of here, hunty. Something wrong with her. And she is married to a white guy. I don't have a problem with white people at all. You know, some of my best friends are white. Remember that? They always say that. But I have a ton of Caucasian friends, and not all of them, not all white people are bad. Not all white people are racist. Let's be real. Now, when they all say, when I hear the all lives matter, that's why we brought that up. I have a problem with that. We wouldn't have to say all lives matter if they didn't treat us the way they did. There would, like I said before, there would be no Black lives, no need for a Black Lives Matter. Everybody is coming together as one, united. We stand to say, hey, enough is enough. It is time for change. And just as you said, Rugo, like with the Italians, the Chinese people, because you have the Indians, you know what I mean, that they were stolen from. Even the Muslims saying that all of them are terrorists. You know what I mean? We have to stop. That's what we're standing for, unity and equality. Come on. And yes, when you said equal pay, yes, definitely equal pay. But can we start with not killing us because we are Black? Why? We have this year's 401 years. Come on now. 400. We've been fighting this same fight 400 plus.
Some of us fighting that same fight in our own family.
And here's what
the race war.
And here's what I'm going to say. I'm not going to deter from what's going on out here, because let's fix this out here, and then we'll worry about fixing what's going on at home. Because to me, when you deal with issues that are minor, that's minor, because we're all the same. Here you go. Let's focus on the bigger picture when you can't get a step ahead. When you can't, it's like, oh no, you can't do that because of the color of your skin. Like I even shared before, with my daughter, with her friend, how, you know, how do you explain to your child about racism? This is the time to explain to them, because they're smart as whips. This is what's going on. My daughter was in the 1st grade and she was having a party. And then I decided, oh, we're not gonna have a party. You and your friend, y'all can go to the store, you know, to Justice. And her best friend was white at school. No color. They don't see no color. On the machine, the little girl was crying so bad, so bad, because she wanted to go. And she, on my answer machine at the time, it said, she said, why can't I go? And the dad said, because she's Black. The little girl had, yes, I have that on my machine still to this day. So at that moment, my child couldn't understand, well, why can't she go? That's her best friend. They were best friends. Still to this day, they're cool too. And her mother ended up bringing her and allowing her to go. And they were just so happy. But I said, that's where that starts. Now that starts at home. That starts at home. And I felt like, man, now my daughter's only in the 1st grade and I have to explain to her why her best friend can't come. And it's not because of who she is. It's just because of the color of skin she's in. So when I say this stuff affects me personally, oh, it affects me personally. Now, if you choose to look past it and say, okay, here we go, that's up to you. But you will not sit there, and I will not sit there and allow you to continue harming somebody and hurting somebody just because of the way they were born. They did nothing to you. We did nothing to you. Now, if there's a personal issue, be like, okay, I just don't like that person. That's different. But besides that, but that's what Dave Chappelle, he ended up, it's called 8 minutes and 46 seconds. It's amazing. He said that they were calling out celebrities to talk. And this is what I liked about it. He's like, they were calling to talk about, where is this person? Where he said, if y'all seen any of my shows, I've always talked about it. He said, and there's nothing that I can say. I don't need to say anything. The people have spoken. And that's what's going on right now. The people are speaking. So guess what? The people are winning, and I'm excited about it.
Right.
You get that clap.
Yeah, I love it. I'm cracking myself up with that stuff. But yes, the people are speaking. So people, power to the people. That's what it is. Power to the people. All right, you ready? You ready for the for the movie world? Or are you still frozen?
Let me see. I put it away because I didn't think it. Okay, so it did pop back up. The Board of Governors directs the academies. That's the Academy Awards. Their strategic vision. They preserve the organization's financial health and ensures the fulfillment of its mission. The governors attend 6 to 8 meetings annually, in person or by video. Right. So Whoopi Goldberg. I'm sorry about the sneeze. Has got reelected to this board, and Ava DuVernay is new to the board, and Wynn Thomas. And so this is a great thing to see these folks maintain or be newly elected to these boards, because I mean, we're talking about an organization that made fun of itself for being so white. So now we starting to see that we're getting Black leadership in there and people who have powerful messages like Ms. DuVernay. So I think that's a great step forward. And also, there's a short video, a short movie that I just saw this morning. I tried to send it out, but for whatever reason I couldn't. And it stars Sanaa Lathan, and I don't know who else. I couldn't find any information on it. It was just sent to me. But it's basically a little bit of a sci-fi rendition of what's happening now with police brutality. And so I don't want to spoil it, but it's basically this Black mother and Black son just taking her son to college, and what she encounters when there's a person who wants to assert their authority when there's no need for their presence at all. You know, so basically they've been profiled because they're African American, and it's nice. I mean, it's.
What's the name of it again? Do you remember? It's a small one, but you said it's with Sanaa Lathan.
Yeah, I want to try to see if I can find it real quick.
Oh, okay. He gonna try to find that. Nicole, how you feel about Beyonce playing Storm?
No.
Oh wait, okay. He said no. You said no. You don't think, Nick? You got to unmute your phone.
She can't do it like Hallie. I'm sorry.
Okay, they listen. They had different people. They said Kirk Franklin could do it better.
I got.
And she in Black Panther too.
No,
Now they got a
that's what they
petition
wanted her to play
about
Storm in Black Panther. Go ahead, Rugo. What you say?
I heard she's in talks, but she has some kind of contract with Disney to do like 3 projects. And I was talking to my son about it. He was like, "Well, it sounds like the same thing they did with who did the Black Panther soundtrack? The last one. It was Kendrick
Lamar.
So they were like, I don't know, they could be contracting with her to do the soundtrack, you know. But I don't think that I just think there's so many other people. Like I said, if you were gonna, okay, first of all, I didn't really think that Halle Berry was a great selection for Storm. I thought that the person who I would have felt back then who should have got the job was Angela Bassett. And
but she was the mother. She was the mother.
Well, I'm saying back when the first
for X-Men for Storm.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, and so but now, like I was talking to my son about, we were talking about who I like. I think Janelle Monáe would be great.
What's wrong with the actresses that's already out there? Name an actress.
Well, she's out. She's I mean, she sings and stuff, but I mean, I
understand she's in the entertainment industry, but you like Janelle Monáe better than Halle Berry.
Yeah, and this is me, like, it was like the last conversation we had last night, so I didn't really get a chance to really think about it. But I mean, like, I think that you could get, that's Storm is okay. This is why Storm is such an important character, because now this is the MCU branching into doing X-Men if you bring in Storm, you know. And so Storm is like, she's pretty much the second in command of the X-Men, you know what I mean? Like, she's like, you know, so her role is so detrimental to the storytelling if you bring in the X-Men. And I just think that you just need an actress that can take that on, like, full-heartedly. And I haven't seen, I mean, not to say that Beyonce couldn't do it, but I just don't think that she would be the right casting to do it. I think there's other people that you could definitely put in there. And right now, I mean, I'm thinking, like, you know, I don't know how old if they want to make her, okay, because in the story, what happens is, and this is, I mean, if this spoils it, you weren't really paying attention anyway to comic books. What happens is Black Panther marries her. You know what I mean? So, like, okay, so you know already you got to have a person that's a certain age already, right? Beyonce would probably fall into the age gap of being like in that piece there. But I just think that there's a lot more people that you could probably pull on before you get to her. And the thing about, let me say this too.
She's that good of an actress. I'm just gonna put it out there. I seen her in Obsessed, and
no, she's not really.
And let's put this out there, is that the success of Black Panther has really, like, she can't increase the success of it. It's Marvel standalone. It's made the most money as a Marvel standalone movie without her. You see what I'm saying? Like, you don't need to bring her in to say, well, she'll sell more tickets, because it's gonna sell all the tickets anyway. Mm-hmm. You know, so my thing is, like, when you look at that cast and you look at, like, Oscar nominated people, and you see people who have these prolific careers in the movies, and you see these upcoming true talents in this movie and that sort of thing, you're like, okay, why would you take the chance on, first, messing up a franchise character?
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And then two, yes, bringing in an element that you don't even need to even have. Not saying in Storm, but in, like, okay, you bring her in, but I don't think it enriches the cast.
I think it'd take it down. Honestly, I think it would take it down. I wouldn't want to go to see Black Panther 2.
And to tell you the truth, the person who could have been her, she's already cast in there, was Alongo. I can't think of her first name. I'm having brain freezes like
Yeah,
that.
that's what. Yeah, but
Lupita.
how come she didn't end up marrying him? Because wasn't that his love in the first one anyway? His love interest. So it's like, how he ended up marrying Storm if that's who he was in love with?
Well, I'm telling you what the comic book lore is. Because, you know, I don't, like, I'm trying to think. I don't know if her character actually existed. I think that's something they added to it.
They just added, oh, okay.
I think. I'm not real sure of that. But I don't think her, but even if she did, like, ultimately, him and Storm supposed to link up, and it's supposed to be like a marriage of two kingdoms or whatever. But the thing is, I just kind of feel like, you know, she could have easily been it, you know what I mean? But she was already cast. I mean, you cast you cast the best when you're going out that first time, because you want to make sure you can get a second movie. Granted, it was bound to, you know, it couldn't fail anyway. But I just think that they just need to really do like a deep dive and find somebody new, talented, dedicated, and somebody who you want to hang that franchise on. And I just don't think that that's the person who, because Storm could easily have a 3 movies of her own.
She's not a great enough actress for me. And it's so funny because they had it going down on social media. They had her face with the little gray hair and all that stuff. They were naming everybody. They had the gingerbread man could play it. It's like all the different people they could cast. And when I seen Kurt Franklin, I fell out laughing. I said they play too much. So
they got a petition out against her too.
What, to not play that?
There's a petition out against casting Beyonce as Storm. I'm like, really? Now y'all going a little bit too far with that one, but yeah.
Well, you know they should bring into play Storm?
Who?
Bring in your girl Kerry Washington.
Kerry Washington would be a good one. She's a great actress.
You know, I mean, there's so many other people that I mean, like, you, because I pulled up, I'm looking because I had a brain freeze. Now, the only person, this is one person okay. I don't know about this, but I'm gonna put the name out there. I don't know about it.
Well, let me get my sound effects ready. All right, I'm ready. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say Taraji P. Henson, but not really.
I thought about her or Jada Pinkett Smith.
Jada. I'm with Jada.
All right.
I'm with Jada. I can't get Taraji out of Jodie. I cannot get that out of my head. But Jada Pinkett, I think so. I'm not a big fan of hers, but yeah, she could play that role. And she would be good, and she's of a specific age. Tell me this. Did you find out the name that she was in with her son dropping her off at college? Not Jada Pinkett.
Sanaa Lathan.
Sanaya. What'd you do? Put it down and forgot?
Yeah, I put it down and forget. We started talking about something else. I got hyped when y'all said that. I was like, hold on, wait.
Wait, let me go back. Oh, that's why you came back. You did come back. You was like, no, not Beyonce. I'm so tired of Beyonce, no lie. No shade, no haterism up there, but no, just stick to music and just do you.
See, the way the person sent it to me, it's like they just sent me the video, but they didn't send me a link. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. But you can actually, Sanaa Lathan, she has taken her son to, you can Google all that. Drop her son off at college, and then that, it ought to come up. It ought to come up.
Yeah.
All right. If it don't, I don't know. No, I'm like, if it doesn't, I don't know. I'll put it on the page. I'll find out what it is and put the link up. Excuse me. I'm sure it's like a good YouTube movie. There's been some good movies on YouTube, short films, didn't you say?
Oh, it's too long. That's why I can't send it like this.
Oh, okay. It's too long. Which one did you watch, Live Studio audience?
I don't remember the name of it.
It was about a TV personality or something. I can't think of the name of it, but there's a few on there. So Netflix, they battling with Netflix. You got Netflix with their new movies, and then you have the YouTube with the short films coming out. Spike Lee did one too. Oh, Spike Lee, did you see that? Did you?
The Five Bloods. I did not watch it yet.
Oh man, you slow to the draw. That's talking about what's going on right now, and he actually he merges it in with if you my age, Do the Right Thing. Remember Do the Right Thing?
Mm-hmm.
Remember Radio Raheem?
Mm-hmm.
He died from police brutality. So he kind of like put that in there too, did that real quick. And they were talking about, talking about that particular film. And he was on The View. He was on The View talking about it. I was like, I remember Radio Raheem. So I'm with Dave Chappelle. We've been talking about this stuff for a long time. This is not new. It's new to you because you've seen it. And I'm loving the fact that they do have camera phones to record this stuff. Otherwise, it'd still be swept up under the rug, and you only knew about it in that area. So I'm grateful for social media. I'm grateful for the camera phones, and now they have some states. So you move out of that state or move out of that city where they are banning recording police incidents. Why? Because you plan on continuing to do it,
Right.
That's what I'm like.
That's not a good idea.
Oh, you know who would be a good storm too?
Oh,
Zaza Beats.
who's
Is
that?
that her name? Zazie Beats, right? She was the one that was in the Joker, and she was also granted, she's already in the MCU as Domino from the what's his name? From the Deadpool movie, Deadpool 2.
Oh, Deadpool.
She was in Atlanta. She was in the movie Atlanta. The show Atlanta with Donald Glover.
Don't know.
Oh Lord.
But what I will tell you before we go off, since we are running out of time, that they're going back into reality shows. They're firing people from reality TV, considering that they will actually use some racist terms, like a lot of your reality, not your scripted. Now, because you do know, what is it, Family Guy off the chain. I'm like, Family Guy's off the chain, and that's written. They didn't say anything about it yet, but like the reality shows, Kim Zolciak, and I'll say Kim Zolciak because she's from Real Housewives of Atlanta. So we, a lot of people, we actually know her. Then you have the Vanderpumps, different reality shows where they felt as though they used racist remarks. They're terminating all of them. All right, lovely people, that is my time. It's time to make a change. I'm glad for, I'm grateful for the youth. I'm glad for the camera phones. Keep on videoing if that's what you need to do, because that's when you say enough is enough. And as I was saying before, and I don't know if I completed it, you look at George Floyd, some of you guys, you're focused on, especially that Candace Owens, you're focused on him as a person. It's bigger than that. He is actually the face of all of us. The face of all of us. So no, it's not okay, it's just him and looking at him specifically, and this is what was done to him. You look at every single Black man, be it that they're, even Jussie Smollett, he said he feels as though that that he died, he was killed for him as well. Absolutely. We already know you make things up. That's fine. But it's still, regardless of your past, regardless of what it is you've done, you are a Black man. You are a man of color. Even the Hispanic, we're not negating them either. People of color saw him, and it was enough is enough. And that was going all the way back to 400 years. So for people to just look at him and say, I don't understand why he's a hero. Listen, y'all made him that way. Y'all made him that way. The girl who videoed it, thank you. Young girl, thank you for videoing it, because here again, he would have just been another number. That's it. All right. Find you, embrace you. Most importantly, always, always love you. Until next week, people. Shut up. Yeah, we're going to get it together one day. One day we are definitely going to get it. And again, today's footnote is, don't mistake your mask for a muzzle. Speak, people.